No? Anyway, this very month, we are following a tradition to get back to basics, as we usually do in January of every year, and it's to reground ourselves in the fundamental tenets of the spirituality. And that's exactly what we have been doing all month. So this is our third week into it, and it's so good. I get excited. So we are going to bring fresh eyes to our spirituality, and we've been doing that every Sunday with the book that we've been basing this on. We reground ourselves. That's why we come together on Sundays, to really to deepen into a spirituality that is filled with like-minded people, that we can come in. I know I feel so excited on Sunday mornings that I get to be with all of you. It makes me happy. And I know I'm going to be happy when I'm here. It's always fun, and that's joy. And that's what we are, joyful gathering. You also get a lot of this in our spiritual classes. We have a class on, I have to laugh. We have a class on Thursdays it's full, but my goodness, anyone that's in it knows it is incredibly deep and it's incredibly fun. So we have quite a few interesting people in that class that keep me on my toes, that's for sure. But it's so good. It's so good. And the radical forgiveness, as you heard Sid talk about, it really is life-changing. See me if you want to take that one. So we're going to get back to last week, during which we engaged, if you remember, if you were here, in a grand experiment. And our experiment was to, remember this, to expect a blessing within 48 hours. We set an intention last week, and I've been using it. I mean, every time the 48 hours is up, and then I forget which day. So every day I wake up, and I expect a great blessing. And you know what? If nothing else, it helps me to pay attention when a blessing that I might have overlooked, some activity I might have overlooked that it was a blessing. So it just keeps me in gratitude. And we know that gratitude is a very high vibration to be in. That's where we really manifest some wonderful experiences in our lives. Because we know the whole point of that was to deepen into this law of God. God is love and law. The law is the thing that does, right? So it's to deepen our faith in the infallible law of God, which always takes what we think and what we feel and brings it into our experiences automatically. Automatically, no exceptions, good, bad, or indifferent. So that's why it's great to be conscious of what we are thinking. So last week's experiment was that intention that we set in our service last week for that unexpected blessing. And what I want to do is I want to see if anybody did that. Could you raise your hand? Okay, so how did that work? Could like someone briefly just say how it worked for them? Yes.
Well, I was really in a really rough place last week, and as some of you may or may not know, I kind of lost my job a couple months ago. It's been a little rough, and I had nothing to expect. I really wasn't sure what was going on. I'm not really computer savvy, and a lot of these places want you to call and apply online and whatnot. So I was seeking employment, and about 6 weeks ago, I want to say, I had called this woman that I had got referred to, who owns a restaurant, and whatever, through the shuffle, through the holidays and everything, she didn't get a chance to get back to me. So
you set an intention on Sunday.
I set an intention on Sunday.
And then what happened Monday?
And it only took 24 hours. So, and so anyway, Monday afternoon, I got a call from this lady asking me if I still needed a job, and I said yes, I do. And
amen. Deepens the faith.
And I started yesterday. So it's not always what you know; it is who you know too.
What you believe.
And what you believe.
Anyone else want to share their blessing? Yes, Jeannie.
My blessing didn't wait till Monday.
Okay.
I had this glorious experience of celebrating my oldest daughter's birthday. We had a blast. I mean, we had so much fun. I mean, my daughter and I get along, so it's not, but this was really, really nice. And it was really so much fun.
Excellent.
We had a blast.
Excellent. Those are all blessings. They come in any form. It could just be a compliment. It could be something big, like getting that job you've been waiting for. It could be so many, having a great time with your offspring, which can be that's definitely a blessing. Yes. So they come in many different forms. But I think today we're going to go deeper into another experiment. Is everyone ready?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. So today we're going to jump right in. We're going to jump right in into these experiments. So this one coincides with our teachings around the law. And our first experiment is called the Siri principle. But before we get into the Siri principle, Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes wrote, "Perhaps the simplest way to state the proposition is to say that we are surrounded by mind or intelligence that knows everything, that potential knowledge of all things exists in this mind, that the abstract essence of beauty, truth, and wisdom coexist in the mind of the universe, that we also exist in it and may draw from it. But what we draw from it, we must draw through the channel of our own minds. A unity must be established, and a conscious connection must be made before we can derive the benefits which the greater mind is willing to reveal or impart to us. The Spirit can only give us what we can take. It imparts of itself only as we partake of its nature." That's Ernest Holmes. What I have written down in my textbook next to that is, we are the inlet from God in order to be the outlet for God. The divine expresses through us. We have that God spark, that essence within each and every one of us. And when we connect with that, all things are possible. And here's a good modern day example in technology. Siri, if you have an iPhone, or you people with iPhones, even though Google has something, Siri's cool. Okay. Siri responds, it is pretty cool, to the voice commands or queries for information. The owner of the phone tells it what they would like, and she does what she's told. She responds without question or judgment or argument. You all understand what I'm... Siri, yeah, okay. Now, Siri doesn't have access to just the small storage of data. Rather, she has immediate access to the World Wide Web. All the information. It's pretty cool, anyway. A pretty gigantic bank of information called the World Wide Web. And it won't do us any good at all unless we call upon it, unless we do it in a way that aligns with Siri's technology. So this is a great example about the wisdom and the intelligence of the law, because we have access to the infinite wisdom and knowledge in the exact same way. But we have to access it, and Holmes tells us we access it by making a conscious connection with it, and we call this our intuition, which is, by the way, pretty much straight for the people in self-mastery, top part, intuition. It's a whole discussion we had in our metaphysical creative process. That's the Science of Mind symbol. That's the top part. Intuition is pretty much going in there. But anyway, we all have intuition within us, but we must cultivate our connection with that indwelling presence, because it's in us. It is the part of us that provides the contrast from our ego mind to the divine mind. So that's when we know if something feels good or not. Pam Grout, who wrote in E Squared, which is the book I'm quoting from this month. We'll have books for sale next week. Where did we ever pick up, she writes, the foolhardy notion that inner guidance was restricted to a lucky few? A lot of it goes back to the myths we believe about God. That he's oh so mysterious and only on call on Sundays. The part that was left out is that our inner guidance is reliable and constantly available. It's there anytime you choose to listen. Same as, she writes, CNN is on anytime you decide to switch to that channel on the TV. It's that reliable. And you are free to put it on the spot, to demand clear answers now. So that's what our experiment's going to be. We have two. One of our experiments for this week is going to be, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to spend the next 48 hours expecting a specific, concrete answer to a specific, concrete question. It can be as simple as whether or not to purchase that new appliance, which can be really daunting. I've done that. How many refrigerators do they have? It's like insane, really. It's insane. And actually, this is not part of the talk, but I went through this one at my other house. I returned the refrigerator 3 times. 3 times. It's a big, huge refrigerator. It's not a little thing. So anyway, that's a big deal. It can be a big deal for a purchase an appliance. It's not easy anymore. Or more life-altering as whether or not to adopt an animal, or move across the country, to take a certain job, to be in a certain relationship. All of these could be parts of what question you might have in your mind. We always have a question in our mind, but we want a solution to it. Sometimes you are confused about or in an area in which you don't know what to do. Whatever it is, you don't know what to do. Anyone ever experienced that? Raise your hand. Yeah, a few of us, right? Whatever it is, this is where you're going to give that divine inner guidance 48 hours to deliver the answer and end the message that you would like guidance on. Because we know that with every problem or challenge that comes in, people don't want to use the word problem. Well, we put the reality in spirituality, so sometimes we call them problems, and that's okay.
Thank you.
Every problem comes in with a solution. So it's about paying attention to what that solution is. And Pam Grout says that when she posed this question, so you kind of have to be aware of the question that you're posing, because the universe does say yes all the time. Her answer, what her question was, is it time to launch my freelance writing career? Her answer came as getting fired from the job. Don't know. She wrote that in retrospect, it was the perfect answer, and perhaps the only way she could actually have heard it was when, you get those, as I call them, universal 2x4s. And, I've had a couple of them. Even starting Joyful Gathering was a whole process where I started to, first I had started to, many years ago, say, God, use me. I am a vessel. Use me however I can be of service. Pretty open-ended question. And the universe is going to respond to that. So then I decided, I'm supposed to be paying attention to, I was in another spiritual center, to all the classes I'm teaching, and to all the clients that I'm counseling. That's it. And so I was having a great time with that. But then more things kept unfolding. Carol Mayo, no, she was with me every step of the way. And the things just kept unfolding till somebody comes up to me and says, I had a dream about you last night. I'm like, yes. And she lives in a church. Lee? Anyone that knows Lee?
Yeah.
Okay, so she said, I dreamt that I heard you talking in front of people in my church. So I was standing next to Carol, so I said, okay, well, we'll do that on Friday nights. once a month. And so that began, and the name just popped in, just, you know, one of those divine, joyful gathering. That sounds good. We'll be joyful, we're gathering, okay? So we're having this once a month thing, and it's wonderful. And I was working here with, you know, Vince, and I did make an appointment to meet with Vince to tell him that this wasn't working out, starting point for me. Wasn't working out. So he says, well, I didn't say anything to him yet, because now we're going out for lunch. And with Vince, you go to the pizza store. So Vince, Steve Pasquale, you know. So we go off to the pizza store, and he proceeds to say, why don't you do your spiritual meetings on Sundays here? I said, let me think about that. 2 minutes later, I said, that sounds like a great idea. So that October, we just started right away. He says, when can you start? I said, well, as soon as you want. So we started in October. After that, August, and we haven't stopped. We're going on our 6th year right now. And it's just whatever Spirit says, I listen. That's the intuitive part. But also, I was open for the answer when it came. I didn't shut it down going, oh my gosh, I never planned on opening a spiritual center. That wasn't in my scheme of things in life, but was in Spirit when I demanded that Spirit express through me and lead me to my higher purpose. Okay, so it's still happening. It's still happening. We got to stay open. So this is your 48-hour experiment to prove to yourself that, to paraphrase Ernest Holmes, we exist in and may draw from a mind or an intelligence. There's one mind, that's God's mind, that's my mind now, that knows everything. And that abstract essence of beauty, truth, wisdom are ours. Ours. Limitless possibilities are ours when we believe it. And that's having the faith, the strong knowing. So spend the next 48 hours establishing that conscious union and have your intention. Have what you would like an answer to and see what happens. And check in next week, because we'll ask you. See who got like some really great wisdom and insights. Experiment number 2 is the abracadabra principle. Most people think of the word abracadabra as a nonsensical word a magician, like Mark Young over there, uses before he does a magic trick. Right? Abracadabra. Did you know it's actually a translation from, it's an Aramaic term, and it translates into English. I love this. It translates into English as I will create as I speak. Think about what a magician does. I will create as I speak.
Very cool.
Pretty powerful, right? Pam Grout, in her book, E Squared, again, wrote, the only reason we don't change water into wine or heal cancer with one touch is because our thoughts are scattered all over the place. Instead of being one constant, well-aimed tuning fork, our thoughts are more like the junior high school band of beginning trumpet players, if you've ever heard that. I remember that with my kids, yeah. On one hand, we're praying for the thing that we want, and then immediately after we finish praying for it, we're doubting it. We'll have the reasons why it can happen. Oh my God, but this is going to happen. And all the negatives that come in with it. We worry about it. Well, I'm going to treat for this. And we treat for it, and then we worry about if it's going to happen. Well, what do you think the Lord's doing? It's giving it, right, I'm quoting her and I'm going on. But the law is giving us back what we want and what we don't want by default. Because it's always saying yes. I'm worrying about my life. I don't know if this is going to happen. I'm going to pay this. We're getting more of that back. We're getting, because we're creating. We're creative beings. Let me get back to Pam. On one hand, we're praying for things to work out. On the other, we worry they won't. At the same time, we imagine a positive outcome. We secretly think optimism is a bunch of baloney. We want to be committed to a relationship with so-and-so, but what if he or she leaves? We want to make money, but didn't the Bible say something about the camels and the rich people and the eye of a needle? The force, which is the law, is literally bouncing off the walls. Go this way, no wait, go that way. We're putting confusion out into the law, and we get back more confusion in our lives. Do you notice patterns in your lives sometimes of things you don't want? Because we're repeating the same doubts. We know what we want, but then if we go to the place of worry and doubt, we're going to get more confusion and more of what we're worrying and doubting about. Let me finish her. She says, it is not that the field of potentiality isn't answering our prayers. It's just that we're praying for too many things. Sure, you begged for peace of mind today, but you also spent 1,200 thoughts obsessing about the damn co-worker who stole your website idea. Yes, you made the intention to think and grow rich. Great book. But you also devoted 500 thoughts on worrying about your overdue car payment. Whether you understand prayer for what it really, when you understand prayer for what it really is, it's easier to understand why that one-time plea to God doesn't always pan out. It doesn't always pan out because we get in the way. And Holmes talks to that, where he says, many people begin their treatment, which is affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, is affirmative prayer in this manner. I know that the principle of intelligence within me will direct me, etc. When they complete it with the thought, well, I certainly hope it does. This is Ernest Holmes, this is entirely forgetting any definite statement and is simply wondering if possibly some good would come along. This is not a correct treatment. And this is not the scientific use of this principle. Hope is good. It is better than despair. But it is a subtle illusion and is an unconscious compromise. Hope is an unconscious compromise and has no part in effective mental treatment, which is prayer. We should say to doubt, where did you come from? You have no place in my mind. Get out. I know that the faith within me now neutralizes all doubt. Isn't that good? I know that the faith within me neutralizes all doubt now. Great affirmation. This is the science part of religious science. This is the scientific use of a mental statement or an affirmation. And there must be no compromise with the consciousness. So with our consciousness, there's no compromising. Faith is faith. It's a knowing that God's good is taking place, period. And all the thoughts afterwards are where all the doubt and the worry and the despair come in. In this experiment, the abracadabra principle, you will use nothing but the power of your thoughts to imagine something specific in your life. Something you could believe, yet not something that is so like huge and beyond your mental equivalent, as he says, beyond your imagination, that you would say, yeah, right, when pigs fly, I'll do that. You know, not something, but something that you could actually say, yeah, that could happen. I'm okay with that, could happen. So to get that clarity, and start with baby steps. Something you can get your mind around, like maybe manifesting front row seats to a theater if that's what you want. Or manifesting something that you can actually say, yeah, I could do that. So you want to hold the thought. You want to keep holding that thought. And every time doubt comes in, be gone. Be gone, doubt. That's not my truth. Talk to it. Talk to your doubt. Get rid of it. Be the solution. Don't be in the problem, the doubt, and the worry part. The important part of this experiment is to be laser focused and to stay in it. And it really is a discipline to keep pulling yourself back into it. Every time you go off, which you will, we all will, we pull ourselves back to it and not let our doubts get in the way. Holmes also wrote, when we think, something happens to thought. The field through which thought operates is infinite. There is no reason to doubt it. You know that God is your source and supply. The universe always has your back. If you stick to that, you are really moving ahead with your faith. Now we go back to Holmes. No matter how it is approached, to thought there can be no limit. So we will say that it is the nature of being to react in this way. Here and now we are surrounded by and immersed in an infinite good. How much of this infinite good is ours? All of it. How much of it may be happened, and how much of it may I use? As much as you can embody. So it's our consciousness of good. The good is there. The law is there. God is there, everywhere, all the time, omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent, always there, all powerful, all knowing. How much can you open your mind to believe it? That's the faith we're talking about. So we're going to have a little bit of fun here, because it's funny, with rejecting our doubts. And I don't know if any of you watch Ellen. Every once in a while I get to see her, and just looking at her cracks me up. She's just so funny. She's so funny. Well, I've seen a couple of these. She has on Halloween. She had, well, this one particular one was and you can YouTube, it's a YouTube video of two of Ellen's crew members, and they walk into the Walking Dead zombie haunted house. It's one of the funniest things I've ever, so funny. Anyway, let me just show a real quick synopsis. There's a man and a woman who continuously hides behind the woman because he's scared to death of this thing. And when she asks him what he's doing, he says, I'm protecting you, I'm protecting you. And he screams out to the zombies, so funny. He screams out to the zombies every single time because he's scared to death. Stop it! Stop it now! Every time one of them jumps out at him. You gotta see it. Okay, so everyone go home and Google Ellen's Halloween shows, because it's so funny to see it. But the whole point of this is, so when a doubtful thought pops into our minds, our consciousness, we're going to say, stop it now, get out of here, get rid of that doubt, that worry, that fear. So it's a good way to get our brains to, the analogy of it, I think, is quite good, at least for me. And you'll chuckle, you know, every time you think about that whole scenario, because it's really funny. Then return your focus to what you are saying, abracadabra. Abracadabra, to remember that we're creating with our minds. So those are our two grand experiments for this week. So I'll do a real quick recap. Testing the Ciri principle, C-I-R-I, by opening up to inner guidance, be specific on the issue. And then testing the abracadabra principle by setting your intention to experience, manifest something specific for yourself. In these experiments, what we're doing is we are training our mind, our thoughts, because we know that a trained thought is so much more effective than an untrained thought. So we are learning to retrain our thinking, reprogram the way we think in order to manifest what we really want. People say, well, this stuff doesn't work for me. Well, what are you thinking? And then what are you thinking after the thought? Well, I know what I'm thinking. This is what I want. But what are you thinking after that intention of what you want? Check it out. It's pretty amazing. Those 1,200 thoughts that come up, that keep coming up. Crazy scenario. You have to laugh at yourself when you see what some of these thoughts really are. I'm just thinking one myself. It's like so funny, but I can't tell you. But it's really funny. I have a really good time up here. Let me tell you, this brain of mine. It's part of the the brain, the ego brain, and the divine brain. So. I invite all of us then to use this week, to use these two grand experiments and see, the home says that a student can learn all of the spirituality there is, but then he would rather see them practice it. So let's practice what we preach. Let's train our thoughts. And let's use these two experiments and see what happens this week. And you can share with us next week. I can't wait. Thank you. And so it is.
So